Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're reviewing New Japan Pro Wrestling Dominion for 2023. If you haven't seen my shows before, I grade everything on a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. With that being said, let's jump right into the show. We start off with a number 1 contendership for the United States Championship, Lance Archer versus Will Ospreay. I thought this was a really good opener. A little bit surprised that this match was the opener. I know they had to do some shuffling because of some travel issues with Claudio Castagnoli, but I think even before that was announced that they had to do that, this was set to be the opener. I thought this was really fun, an awesome way to start the show. I like both of these guys a lot. I feel like Lance Archer is more important in New Japan than he's ever been in AEW. AEW, he's kind of an afterthought. Matter of fact, most of the time you forget he's there, whereas in New Japan, he's treated like a serious wrestler. It's a really fun match. Ospreay picks up the win here. I'm giving this one a 4. Afterwards, Ospreay pretty much says that he's going to come for Kenny Omega in Canada, aka Forbidden Door. We're starting to see the beginning of the build for that Forbidden Door pay-per-view. I've heard it might be a special this year because there's so many things happening within the next few months. Either way, it's going to be probably a really good show considering last year's was really good. Next up, we have an 8-man tag match. Representing just 5 guys, we have Taichi, Doki, Kanemaru, and Taka Michinoku going up against, representing LIJ, Naito, Shingo Takagi, Bushi, and Teton. I wanted to like this match more than I ended up liking it, and then that's not saying it's a bad match. It just didn't feel like anything was accomplished here. I kind of understand with the Sonata LIJ thing why they're doing this, because obviously this is Sonata's new group versus his old group. However, I do think this match didn't quite set any storylines going forward. When I'm watching these multi-man faction type matches, I'm looking for an interesting story to come out of it, like let's say Taichi pinned Naito, or Shingo pinning Doki, or something setting up something for future matches. This was good. Again, nothing real special. I'm giving it a 3. Next up, we have a Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship match. We have the International Jet Setters, Kushida and Kevin Knight. They're going up against Francisco Akira and TJP, representing United Empire. I thought this match, again, was another one that under-delivered a little bit. I feel the story here and the ongoing story is Kushida is losing a little bit. I feel like maybe there's going to be a heel turn of sorts for Kushida. Maybe he joins someone like Bullet Club or TMDK, because it feels like a little bit that he's eating a lot of pins lately, a lot of losses. TJP and Akira pick up the win here. During the match, they were cornered by Dan Maloney. After, we have Clark Connors come out and basically challenge them for their championship. And when he announces his partner, he looks to the aisleway. However, Dan Maloney attacks from the back, thus joining Connors in Bullet Club now. I thought that was a pretty cool surprise. I didn't expect Dan Maloney to change over to Bullet Club, especially this quickly. The match itself, like I said, was underwhelming. I'm giving it a 3. The surprise afterwards, I really did enjoy. I think it's going to bolster the ranks of Bullet Club. And I feel like Bullet Club is being rejuvenated. As much as I think David Finlay isn't the right leader for Bullet Club, I feel like they're making a lot of decisions that are setting him up to be that guy. That's followed up with our TV championship match. We get Zack Sabre Jr. defending against Jeff Cobb. This to me was one of my favorite matches of the show. I'm a huge fan of Zack Sabre Jr. I love Jeff Cobb as well. I think that anytime these two get together, they put on an amazing match, and they did not disappoint here. I like the constraints of having the 15-minute time limit for the TV championship. I like the look of the TV championship. It's a cool looking belt. I kind of like the feud going back and forth between TMDK and United Empire. It feels like they're perennially going to be at odds with each other. This is a really fun match. Zack Sabre Jr. picks up the win here. I'm giving this one a 5. Like I said, it's probably one of my favorite matches on the card. I love anytime these two get together. Next up, for the vacant Strong Tag Team Championship and also the IWGP Vacant Tag Team Championship, which were vacated by Aussie Open due to Mark Davis's injuries. We get Bishamon, Hiroki Goto, and Yoshihashi going up against House of Torture, represented by Evil and Yujiro Takahashi, going up against a team representing the United Empire of Great Khan and Aaron Hanari. This is probably my least favorite match on the card, and it's because it involves so much shenanigans, which we've become used to with the House of Torture matches. They're kind of overly gimmicked, overly run-ins, very much cartoony heel actions, and we've seen all of that here. We see Sho gets involved, Yo comes out, which again seems like to be an ongoing feud that'll probably never end, going back to their time together. I don't feel like this match had any rules to it, had any structure. Everybody was fighting at all times, all over the place. It kind of felt like it was a no rules match, which I don't think they stated it was. I know WWE and AEW say if it's a three-way match, there's no disqualification. And New Japan Pro Wrestling's done so little three-way matches that I don't know what they set as their expectations for these. Again, I think this one disappointed me a bit. Bishamon, Goto, and Yoshihashi pick up the win here. I'm giving this one a 3. Afterwards, we get another challenge coming from a Bullet Club team again. This time, we get 2 new Bullet Club members, thus putting up to 3 for the show so far. Alex Coughlin and Gabriel Kidd. And like I said when I talked about Dan Maloney joining Bullet Club, we're starting to get a different vibe from Bullet Club. Get some fresh blood into there, get some younger talent in. And that seems to be an overall theme for the whole show altogether. This was a show where the younger talent got a chance to thrive and succeed. I want to see where these two go from here. I think they're going to be good. I've liked watching them on New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong. It's starting to get really interesting what's happening within Bullet Club and what's happening within New Japan. I feel like New Japan is on the precipice of a new generation and they're setting up the stars for that generation. So this is pretty cool here. After that, we get our announcement for the G1 Climax participants. There's 32 participants. I'm not going to go through them all. I'm just going to name 2 here that I thought were kind of surprising and kind of didn't expect. We have first Eddie Kingston from AEW, which is awesome. I love to see Eddie Kingston get a chance to shine. I would also like another, maybe 1 or 2 AEW guys, maybe Claudio Castagnoli, Bryan Danielson, who has mentioned that he'd love to be in the G1 at some point. Maybe someone like a Ricky Starks or Samoa Joe, who kind of feel like they're not doing much of anything, or Swerve Strickland, guys that I think could benefit from being in the G1. I think Kingston's going to have a great run in the G1. I think it'll benefit him. I do enjoy it. I just wish they would have added more. Now, the other person I wanted to mention, Kaito Kiyomiya, and I'm probably butchering that name. He's one of the big stars in Noah right now, and all of the Noah that I've seen in this generation has been with Japanese commentary, so I'm not sure that I'm pronouncing his name properly. This was a guy that, if you remember, had the little bit of a shoot thing with Okada where he hit him in the back of the head a little bit too hard and Okada took umbrance to it. So it's going to be interesting seeing him in here. I do like that they involve someone from Noah. Kind of cool seeing that cooperation. Kind of something that I really enjoy, that they're acknowledging and working with each other to build wrestling back up in Japan after coming off of the pandemic restrictions. So yeah, pretty cool. I'm really excited for the G1. We always get at least 3 or 4 Match of the Year candidates coming out of the G1, so I'm very excited for that. Next up, we have for the Never Openweight Championship, David Finlay, who's flanked by the 4 guys we've seen from Bullet Club already, Connors, Maloney, Coughlin, and Kidd, going up against El Phantasmo. And basically the story of this is, since Phantasmo has been kicked out of Bullet Club, he's a man on his own with no backup, and that was kind of the story of the match. This is for the Never Openweight Championship. I really felt like after Jay White left Bullet Club that LP should have been the leader. And again, I'm liking what they're doing with David Finlay. I'm still in a you need to show me more kind of phase with it. I do like this new route they're going with him. I hope it carries over and continues to be great. I thought this was a really fun match. Finlay does pick up the win here. I'm giving this one a 4. Next up, we have a Junior Heavyweight Championship match. Hiromu Takahashi going up against Master Wato. Master Wato coming off of winning the Best of the Super Juniors to challenge here. Again, you could see the theme here. Wato, a younger wrestler, being elevated. The other guys like Connors, Maloney, Kidd and Coughlin elevated here on the show. You could kind of see that changing of the guard coming, or at least injecting new blood into the higher levels and the higher ranks in each of their divisions. I thought this was a really fun match. I honestly thought that Watto was going to pick up the win on here. I think he's been on such a good roll, and he's improved so much in just the last year that he kind of went from a guy that I didn't care about to someone that I'm watching because he's just done that well for himself. Ultimately, he does lose to Hiromu Takahashi, which you can't call that a real big loss because Hiromu's one of their main stars, one of the guys they're building the company around or have built the company around. I'm giving this match a 4. I thought it was really good. Next up, we get a never open-weight 6-man championship match with Kazuchika Okada, Tomohiro Ishii, and Hiroshi Tanahashi, defending against Claudio Castagnoli, Jon Moxley, and Shota Umino. Like I said, again, we start to see here more of that new wave with Shota Umino. I think Shota, to me, is a future ace of the company. I think he's really got that much talent in him. I love seeing Moxley in New Japan, and I couldn't believe that after all these years, this is Claudio's first match in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'd love to see more of him. It would have been awesome to see him in the G1. This was a really fun match. I really enjoyed this. One of my favorite matches on the card. I like all 6 of these wrestlers. Putting Shota Umino in here makes you think of him on the level of Moxley, of Claudio Castagnoli, of Okada, of Tanahashi, that he's in there with them and he's competing with them. It makes him right in there in that mix. And I like that he's in a somewhat feud with Okada. Pretty awesome match in my opinion. Okada, Ishii, and Tanahashi do pick up the win. I'm giving the match a 5. Afterwards, Moxley grabs a microphone, says that Okada thinks he's the best wrestler in the world, but the BCC trains with the best wrestler in the world, and he sent a video message for you, and we get Bryan Danielson. And this is just amazing. Just seeing that little bit of video with Danielson challenging Okada, this is an absolute dream match. You have arguably the 2 best wrestlers of the last 20 years, or at the very least in the top 5 in the last 20 years going up against each other. And that's going to happen seemingly at Forbidden Door. Okada said he's going to walk through the Forbidden Door, so yeah, obviously it's that where it's going to be. But just an awesome thing, setting up that pay-per-view again, another dream match that's going to happen. So we're going to at least get Ospreay and Omega 2, or however many it is now, and Okada and Danielson, which should be, if all things goes right, and it happens the way I think it will, it'll probably be the best match of this year, and probably in contention for one of the greatest matches of all time. Like I said, I gave the match a 5. I thought this interview or video afterwards was awesome as well. That leads us into our main event of the evening. Sonata is defending the IWGP Heavyweight Championship against Yota Tsuji. Again, part of that youth movement, new blood movement in my opinion. Yota Tsuji just coming back off of Excursion. I don't think he's even wrestled in New Japan since he's came back off of Excursion. He basically just came out and challenged Sonata. And this was one of those things where I was kind of trepidatious going into it. I don't see a lot of CMLL, so I didn't get to see his excursion there. And before he left, I'm going to be perfectly honest, I wasn't blown away with Yota Tsuji. I didn't think he was one of the best prospects. I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised here. Yota Tsuji absolutely looked like he belonged at the top of the card, looked like he was a wrestler that could be in contention for that world championship at any time over the next decade. To me, he really showed a poise and a confidence and a technical ability that is above where he should be in his experience. Going in there with a guy like Sonata, who's an established star, who's won multiple championships here, and putting on this good of a match really sends a lot of things for Yota Tsuji going forward. I thought this was an absolutely awesome match. I kind of thought they might pull the switcheroo here and give Tsuji the win. However, Sonata does pick up the win here. I'm giving this a 5. I thought it was highly enjoyable. Overall, I thought this was a really fun card. There were a couple missteps a little bit. Nothing bad in my opinion. The fresh blood getting introduced here. The rejuvenation of Bullet Club with new members. Yota Tsuji as obviously a main eventer going forward. I'd like to see him maybe get into the U.S. Championship mix, or maybe find a partner and get in the World Tag Team Championship mix just to give him a little bit more experience before he does go for that run. Seeing Master Wato being put in a main spot and looking as good as he did, Shota Umino, who I've said a million times how much I like him. This was just a really good show, a really good way to show New Japan going forward. It was awesome in my opinion. Overall, I'm going to give the show a 4. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. With that being said, let's smash that like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't. If you see where it says join there, that's how you become a member. If you do choose to become a member, there are some perks. You do get preference over the videos that are going to be made. You get early access to videos. You get emojis, shout outs, stuff like that. Matter of fact, shout out to Chris while we're here for being a member. Thank you very much. I definitely appreciate it if you do click that. It does help the channel. It does help to buy supplies for the channel, buy equipment for the channel. With all that being said, if you made it all the way to the end of the show, let me know who you think is the best of these younger prospects, whether it be Tsuji, Umino, Kid, Coughlin, Maloney, Connors even Wato you could add in there. Let me know who you think. Put it down here in the comments. My name is George Coles, and this has been my review of New Japan Pro Wrestling Dominion 2023.